Good afternoon. Let's wait for a little bit and see who joins. I'm doing this at the last minute because of thoughts that came in my mind, and I have this venue and I'm going to use it. So first thing I'm going to start with is the question. And it was because I watched 45 today do his thing with Melania, and it's all about the national drug crisis, you know, the opioid crisis, overdose crisis. And lots of things went through my mind. Of course, lots of things went through my mind. Hi, Barbara. And so I did go back to an article that drug overdose deaths from 1980 to 2016 have risen so sharply. It's crazy. We know this, right? We know we've seen all this stuff. But I have a bit of a theory, and 1980 was pretty much the beginning of a lot of awareness, or at least more awareness, environmental awareness of the fact that we have a global industrial complex that is destroying the planet. I've grown up watching it. I've had peers who have overdosed. I almost think it's like the whales that are stranding themselves to get away from the poisons in the oceans, if that's why they're doing it. People are dying because it correlates with environmental degradation. It really does. And I'm just going to say hi to Kim and Jean. Thanks for joining me. I can't share anything, so reading that, that's my whole grown-up life, and watching this happen. And how can you not draw some kind of correlation with the way we are going environmentally? As we have, as a human species, evolved, and in our technical prowess, we are killing ourselves. And those that choose to numb their pain through the use of opiates, heroin, whatever, drugs that they can die from, are building because of all the stuff that they see. I see. I mean, I see it. I read it every day. I have a different attitude. I have an attitude of enjoying life, trying to enjoy life. But I want to understand this epidemic. Now, politically, I have a couple of things I can say as I watch Trump, that I think this may be an excuse for a heightened police state, and for Jeff Sessions maybe to go after marijuana, which we've all waited for so long. I think that there's some things behind this that are, okay, feel good, let's help this, and I'm going to solve this crisis when no one else has been able to. My daughter went through the DARE program, and lots of her friends have overdosed and died of heroin overdoses. And why? Why some and why not others? And what is this correlation to the global industrial complex and technology and sophistication of technology growing and correlating with a rise of deaths from drug use? I look at it like that. I don't see where anyone that isn't strong can withstand sometimes all of the assaults that they get on television, on the internet, before this, it's an assault of your senses. There's not everybody can take all this assault of their senses. And environmentally, you see it everywhere you go. And recently, in the last, 10 years, all of the studies that have been coming out about climate change, global warming, sea rise, all of those things, the kids know, the millennials know, they all know. My generation knows what it was doing. My generation knows about greed. We invented it. It started before us, but we ran with it. So today, it was really on my mind how everything about what we are doing as a species, a somewhat intelligent species, is also killing us in so many different ways. It's killing us environmentally with pesticide use. Do we know if there's a correlation of between pesticide use and food and addiction? Where are those studies? I might look if it really interests me enough. Right now, what interests me is the fact that politically, I don't know if it's a false flag. I've never really used the term false flag. Is it something for Melania to do? But I also have another reason. And I am a chronic pain patient of 16 years. Having had 3 back surgeries now and herniated discs in my neck, and it's taken my career. And I've told you guys about this. I look at this now as something that's going to invade my privacy, something that's going to completely change my life if I can't use it. I only take something so minimal, but if I can't use something, I will. Am I going to have no quality of life? Because for me, the medication worked as intended, and I've never abused it or gone beyond what I'm supposed to, but it has allowed me to move, even though I hurt all the time. So let's talk to some of you guys out there. Jean says she knows several people that have died of overdose. So have I. Started in the 70s for me. I had friends that were on heroin back then. And I remember, oh, hi, Trevor. It is a beautiful day here, too. I'm trying to have it always a beautiful day, but this is a pretty serious conversation. So I've had friends that died of heroin overdoses in the 80s, and they still got their heads on pills because back then it was phenobarbital and Quaaludes. I mean, this is nothing new. Donald Trump is using this. To me, I think it's all being used for political gain. And somebody who is, or maybe the genre, the mind, is so anti-environment, wants to drill the Arctic refuge, wants to build nuclear powers, wants to use, nuclear energy, wants to use coal. He wants to do these things that we all know are bad. But yet on the other side, I'm battling opiates. I'm killing people overseas daily. We're dropping bombs, but God damn it, we're not going to let these people die. I don't want anybody to die. I just want people to be honest. It doesn't work. And it looked to me like it's going to be a new version of prohibition. Back to the environment. Hi, Steve. The correlation. Can anybody see that? If since my life in the 70s, drug use has gone up and up and up, you could say it's the drug industry. You could say that corporate interests saw to it that Americans were medically managed. I mean, we've been on antidepressants now. When the first doctors told me, here, take this if you feel this, was back around 1980, and I didn't want to do it, but I tried, and now and then. But I never really felt that it was something that I really needed. The only thing I've ever needed was pain relief. And it is a difficult thing. And anybody who thinks it's easy to walk into one of these places or your doctor and just get pills is nuts. So I never had an easy time, and I never went to look for it. Correlation. The correlation, is it because our population has grown so much? What's the population gone up by since 1980, since this escalation in drug death? Has the fact that we are now maybe 2 to 3 more million people, does that have some bearing on this correlation of drug deaths and going up? I wonder. And the resources, because of the population, less resources. We have seen the resources that are spread inequitably spread to the 1%. We've watched all of this happen around us. We've watched the Walmart generation. We watch people look for ways to get out of pain. Emotional, psychological is the same. And I don't think this is going to stop. And I think it's going to get worse as we go towards more near-term human extinction. And not to be negative, but I don't see a way out of the mess we're in. But I do try to find the beauty, and like I said, in every day. And I've been sick and I've hurt, but I come on here. Last night I interviewed Chelsea, and I've come on and I've been miserable, but I still do this. I still program the page every day. I'm still working with the team. I'm trying to have a quality of life. I don't want to be one of those people that gives up and says, you know what? There they are. I'm going to take them. Now, accidentally, I'm sure there's a lot of accidental deaths, and that's a tragedy for the families. I am in no way minimizing what people feel, what families feel when they lose a loved one, because it's happened to me. And it was all because of, mixed up. But we don't want to forget the legal evil of alcohol. And alcohol, they're not putting that in the equation I looked at. Alcohol, legal, over the counter, the bar counter, that is, probably kills more people than those 56,000 that I saw in that article. But of course, it's going to be a different measure. They're not going to come out and say, well, directly there have been alcohol overdose. They're not. And we can talk about hepatitis. We can talk about cirrhosis. We can talk about all these illnesses because they are all environmentally caused illnesses, either from what we have put in and ingested ourselves, or what we breathe in, the pesticides put on the crops. All of this has something to do with this National Opioid Crisis. There are so many things, and it makes your head spin. I mean, would I like to see a perfect world? Of course. Wouldn't we all? Ariel says, I'm a millennial, and I was in an accident like 15 years ago. Same struggle that you're talking about. It's a hard one, for chronic pain people like me. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not anything. I just have pain. And already what I was taking is going to be banned. It is banned by the end of the year. So, I'm not sure how my life is going to be. I'm not sure what the quality of my life is going to be. Let's see. Doug says, and this is interesting. Pain medicine makes it so you don't feel pain for other people. See, now I wonder if that's when it's an abused pain medicine, when it's something that somebody's taking not to feel, because that's not my experience. And most of people I know that are in chronic pain that don't abuse anything, that's not their experience. But I can't speak from I can't speak from the, to that, Doug, because I'm not that person. And I'm not going to talk about specifics. And let's see, emotional and physical pain trigger many of the same neural pathways. The pain is real in both cases. Thank you, Vera. I think I feel pain from the way I do see things. It could be exacerbated environmentally. It could be because of what I read, what you all read. That's the psychic pain, but there is physical pain. I mean, again, what's the correlation with pain? Which is where these all started, to mitigate pain. What did people do that worked the fields way back before opioids? They dealt with it or they died young. They had no quality of life. So man seeked something, see, I'm to my back, man seeked something to fix and ameliorate that pain so we could keep working our bodies and keep going, which is exactly what I did. It made me worse. Jean says she's suffered from chronic pain all her life, and you hate asking the doctor. Who would? Bruce, being woke is traumatic in general. That's what I'm saying. From 1980 to now, with the correlation of opioid deaths, the big pharma industries creating opioids originally for pain, we had already had a heroin addiction problem for years. I mean, gosh, people were doing dope 60s, 70s, 50s, 40s probably. I mean, it's nothing new. So this orange-haired white knight, 45, is going to tromp in on his horse and think he's going to solve it. It's not going to be solved. I'm not being negative. It's just human beings. But what will happen is we will see more of a police state, I believe. We're going to go backwards. We're going backwards in so many ways anyway. With our environmental laws, do you think that affects people that get depressed and maybe look to take drugs that are easily gotten to not feel? Perhaps that's it. There are so many variables in this. And when they talked about law enforcement, I just said, that's the harbinger, that's the future, that's the foreshadowing. That law enforcement is going to get more involved, and we are going to see, along with environmental degradation, now they're going to lease out the rest of the Gulf for drilling to the oil companies right after there has been a spill. So no wonder why people can't deal and need the crutch like that. I don't think they wanted to die. I think they didn't want to feel. Karen says, I was on it for chronic pain, and all of a sudden last year they took me off. I never abused them. Now I'm stuck in bed. See, Karen, I started out as a chronic pain live streamer because I felt and I saw the writing on the wall that chronic pain patients were going to be discriminated against as drug seekers because I saw this whole opioid crisis boiling over. And I know people that sold their pills. They should never have. I didn't like it. It pissed me off. Why did they do it? Again, we go back to global industrial complex, socioeconomic reasons. They can't afford to live. Do I excuse it? No, I don't like it. I hate all of it. I don't like drug dealing in corners and all, none of that. But get back to the original question of the environment and the opioid addiction. It just has so much to do with it. But it's the elephant in the room and nobody's going to talk about it. Gigi, Tylenol kills probably as much as opioids do. I stood next to a woman pathologist at a press conference who just did an autopsy on a 23-year-old man who had died of Tylenol. Pain. We're living longer. We are doing so many things. I multitasked. I worked. I went to the gym. I took kickboxing classes. I pushed myself. I did mixed martial arts things. I rode a motorcycle. I've hurt myself all my life, lifted firewood. So my back took a crap. I had other physical things that probably precipitated it happening. So I never asked for this. And me times how many me's? You know, you're on here now with me. When I first went on Real Progressives, I remember my first live streams were about chronic pain patient discrimination. How does that go with the environment specifically? Everything goes with the environment. Everything goes with the environment. Everything we see, everything we eat, everything we want, everything we pop goes with the environment. And drug use will get worse. And as we destroy the environment, as animals go extinct, every day I'm reading an article about an extinction. You think that it's going to stop because 45 says we're going to deal with it? Make it a police state? Well, Doug, you take a medicine they gave you, and I'm glad you have it. See, you're not going to abuse it. I mean, that's the difference. We have to make sure, though, that chronic pain patients, like those who have been on this, are not hurt. That was my big thing. And I'm going to be hurt. I already know it. And I hope it doesn't affect my ability to talk to you and research and do the things that I do. You know, I'm always got this with me. So let's get back to the beginning. We do have to think about everything that is specifically around us. If we live in a state where there's fracking, if we see pipelines being built, even people that drive by, even people that aren't really activists, that aren't woke. Like Bruce said before, being woke is traumatic in general. It's a conundrum. And I'm not smiling because I like it. I'm smiling because you're all here. I'd like to wrap this up. If anybody has any more, Gigi. DEA has to crank up this false opioid crisis because cannabis is coming legal. People have, in mental or physical pain medicine, real people have real pain. Gigi, that really was a perfect ending. I think it was a perfect ending. Thank you, Doug. I don't know what, I'm just talking to my peers. Most of you are my peers. Most of you are my age group. Most of you know what I'm talking about. It is what it is. And she said it. It is. I think I felt that way when I was watching 45 today. I said, this is a false flag, and I am not a person that ever uses false flag or any of those terms. It's probably the first time you've ever heard me say it. But let's watch. I've been watching because it's been 1.5 years since I was doing that, chronic pain patient discrimination. And I have talked to other people about it. But also keep an eye on what happens out there in the environment. Keep an eye on bringing back the coal industry. Keep an eye on more animal extinctions. And watch what happens in the population who have to handle this and deal with this, who aren't like you and me. I like to go smoke a joint. I don't have one. Anyway, everybody have a great day. I really appreciate you coming and going over this with me. You know, just my thoughts, correlations on what's going on. I had a woman last night before we leave tell me on a YouTube comment that nothing's going to change unless capitalism and the whole global industrial complex collapse. She was pretty good at what she was saying. It was on one of my videos, and it was a video I did in August, and she came on last night, and she had a great discussion. But wow, that's what a lot of people feel. It all has to go. And maybe that would be the end of drug addiction. Maybe that would be the end of pain. Maybe we could go backwards, but that's hopium. The nuclear industry has seen to it that we can't. So now that I've thoroughly depressed you, let's take one more. Bruce, that's why Big Pharma will keep cannabis legal. It's natural and it works. Cures don't make profits. Interesting. Well, we'll see. I'm starting to embark on a journey. Maybe I'll tell you about it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. You know, this goes out all over the place. I talk enough personal stuff, but everybody does. And, you know, for the most part, it's really all right because we got nothing to hide. What we have is our minds and our opinions and our voices. Let's hope we don't lose that either. Everybody have a good day. Barbara says we lived at the best time. Oh, I think my mom did. And she's still 83 and she's still cranking. She had the best time. But it is what it is. Don't forget about this issue, though, because I want you to remember the correlation that I told you about. The correlation in deaths and the correlation in environmental degradation, along with the economic potential collapse. There we go. Have a good day. Bye for now.